Hi, welcome to this Faith Talk podcast. This is for the confirmation lesson for the class that is to meet on April 19th. And welcome to you, Danny, AJ, and Allie. I hope that you are doing all right during this time. It is such a unique time. I'm recording this on Palm Sunday from my home with my husband's help. And I've never been at home on a Palm Sunday morning before, I don't think. I wore my brightest green in honor of palms, and my husband and I had pancakes and sausage like we would have at church, but it's just not the same. And perhaps you three would have been at church this morning for Palm Sunday helping out with the breakfast or with the kids' Easter egg hunt afterwards. It's just a very unusual time, and I want you to know I do think about you and your families, and I pray for you. And I wonder what it's like for you. I don't know if in some ways it's almost like okay because it's kind of like a vacation, or if it's more like being grounded because even though you have some time, you can't really go anywhere or do anything or see your friends. If there are things that are hard for you about this time, I sure hope you would feel free to contact me or your mentor or someone to talk about if you need to do that. And we are hoping to meet on the 19th somehow. I don't know if it will happen via a teleconference like I think you did one time with Helene, or if we'll be able to figure it out on Zoom or Messenger or some other format. But we'll find a way and we'll figure it out by then. So for now, here is our lesson. It's on parables. We're going to talk a little bit about parables overall, and then we're going to look at a few specifically, the Good Samaritan and the lost and found parables. So I just want to do a little bit of a review here. The Bible, that's what we're studying this year for your confirmation. And the Bible is a little library. Remember, biblios. Bible means little library. There's 66 books in here. That's a lot of books. They're not all books like we think. Some are letters. One is a hymnal. Some are histories and so on. And they were written over a 1,000-year period of time. And the last of them written about 2,000 years ago. So this is an incredible book. You started out looking at the Old Testament. There's 39 books in that. And you looked at stories of creation and people like Abraham, King David, the prophets. And now in the last couple months, you've been in the New Testament looking at stories about Jesus. There's 27 books in the New Testament, but mostly we've been focusing on the first four, the Gospels, which tell about Jesus's life: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And today we're going to look at one of the favorite ways Jesus had to communicate with people. So here's just a little experiment. Contrast these two sentences. Here's the first one. On the afternoon of Thursday, April 2nd, when my husband and I were exercising outdoors, we passed a costumed figure of a prehistoric reptile holding on a leash a small canine. Okay, here's the next statement. Last week when Phil and I were out walking, we saw a Tyrannosaurus Rex walking a pug on a leash. You should have heard a difference between those two. One was kind of a historical report and one was more like a story. Now they were both true, right? Sometimes we think stories aren't true. Stories can be imaginary, but they can also be true. Both of those statements were true, but one was a story, and that makes it catchier. Now, a photo is even better, right? Here's a photo because my husband took a picture. This was actually a child, 9 or 10 years old, who dressed up in their Halloween costume of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and was walking their dog. It was really cool. People honked as they drove by. It was a little fun thing. But my point is that while pictures are worth 1,000 words, that's a saying, they didn't have photographs in the time of the Bible, but they had stories. And Jesus knew that stories were the catchy, memorable way to communicate with people. And so instead of giving reports or historical narratives, Jesus tells stories. He doesn't lecture people. He uses a story. And stories invite us in. That's what Jesus did. He was a great storyteller. His favorite kind of story was a parable. A parable is a simple, short story that generally has one main point. Often that point is spiritual in nature. Now, if you think about my little dinosaur story, it was short, and the main point should have been, wow, what a surprise to see a dinosaur walking a dog. That's how Jesus's parables are. They leave you with one main point or image. And his stories are catchy and they're colorful. Sometimes they're funny. And in 3 of the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus's stories appear. But Luke has the most parables, and the ones that we're going to look at are from Luke. So to look at those specifically, the first one we're going to look at is the Good Samaritan. That's probably Jesus's most famous parable. As you read it in your Bible, and that's in your assignment, and those assignments are being emailed to you, and they're also posted on our website. As you read this story, you will want to realize that Samaritans were not well thought of by Jews. They shared some common beliefs, but they were enemies at this time in their history. And Jews thought that Samaritans were just much lesser, that they were unclean was the word they used. A good Jew shouldn't have any interactions with a Samaritan. So in the story he tells, Jesus makes the person that everyone looked down on, the Samaritan, to be the hero, the one who does the good, helpful thing. And he makes the people that everyone expected to be good and kind, like the priest, who would be like a pastor, and the Levite, who would be like maybe a lawyer or a judge, they're not good or kind or helpful. They're afraid to get involved. So Jesus has people acting in ways that would surprise the people who heard his story. And Jesus liked to push back at people's stereotypes and prejudices in this way. So in this story, he shows that your neighbor isn't just whoever lives right around you, and it isn't just somebody that is easy to like who's just like you. Your neighbor is anyone in need. That's a pretty big neighborhood, isn't it? So to be a neighbor, to be a friend to someone who's different from us, that's a hard thing to do. That's really challenging for anyone. And it's one of the things we do as disciples or followers of Jesus. We try to build those bridges. And it wouldn't surprise me if you are, in fact, doing that. Maybe you're a friend to someone in school that you know other kids don't like very well or make fun of. Or maybe you're a friend to someone who has a really different background than you do. Maybe someone who's a lot older than you or younger than you, because you can be a friend to people of all ages. Or maybe someone who has a disability of some kind, maybe someone from a different country. Whenever we manage to be a friend or neighbor to someone who is not like us, when we build those kind of bridges of understanding and don't have those prejudices, we're doing a good thing, and God is pleased. I have a little example of this. I'm a mentor with the Mentor Duluth program here in Duluth. And that's about an older person being a friend to a younger person who may have some particular needs. I'm the mentor. My mentee is a young lady now, just about your age, probably about 13 years old, and she's 100% Ojibwe, and I've been her mentor since she was about 6 or 7. So we've been meeting all those years, pretty much every week, doing an activity together, just being friends. And she is different from me. She's a different race. She has different cultural beliefs. She lives with a different kind of economic system. Her family looks different than my family looks. She's much younger than I am. And it's been hard work to be friends, but it's also been really worthwhile. And it's mutual. I mean, we're both learning and gaining something from this experience. And I think God called me to be in this friendship with her. I think God is pleased whenever we can build those bridges between people. That's part of what the Good Samaritan is about. The second set of parables that you're going to be reading about are about being lost and found. Like you maybe have a lost and found spot in your school where you go and look for something, the gloves or mittens that you lost or something. There's a story about a lost sheep, and there's a story about a lost coin, and there's a story about a lost person, a son in this case. So both things and people can get lost. And all of these stories have a little bit of surprise to them. The sheep story, there's 100 sheep. Only one of them wanders off. Oh gosh, if you're that shepherd, should you leave the 99 and go looking for the one who gets lost? Or should you stay with the 99 and keep them safe? Well, you read this story and find out. And then there's one about a lost coin. There was a tradition at weddings in that time that a necklace of 10 coins would be given to the bride. And so this may have been one of those 10 marriage coins that was lost, which meant it was not only maybe monetarily valued, but it had sentimental value. That woman looks and looks for it. You'll see what happens. And then there's the story of the lost son. Maybe there's actually two lost sons in the story, both the one who wanders off and the one who stays home but is kind of resentful. You'll read it and you'll see. And in all of these cases, everything that is lost is found because someone keeps searching. And that tells us the simple single story or truth that God never gives up looking for us. Now, I have a lost and found story about this ring. This is my mom's engagement ring. When she died, my dad gave it to me and I treasure it. And it's about a 1-carat diamond, so it's valuable monetarily, but it's also, of course, sentimentally valuable. And that's how it was for my mom. When I was, again, about your age, my mom lost the stone from this ring, and we tore the house apart looking for it. We opened up the vacuum cleaner bag and looked through all of the dog hair and the crud in there, and we took apart sink drains and looked in the traps to see if it had gotten rinsed down a sink. We looked everywhere, couldn't find it. It was so sad. And then my mom picked up the vegetable brush by the sink that she used to scrub potatoes. Somehow the stone had gotten lodged in that brush. It fell out. She found it. We were so happy. That's kind of like that story about the lost coin, because that might have been a wedding gift as well. But it's just a really good story to remind us that's the kind of joy that God has if we get lost and then are found by God again. And we can get lost at times again and again, but God always finds us, and God never stops looking for the lost. That's one of the ways that God shows grace. And grace is God's pure love and pure welcome and open arms for us always and forever. So that's a little bit about those parables. Look at the assignment that you are getting. Like I said, it will be emailed to you and posted online. Do your best to get them done before April 19th. Especially try to connect with your mentors about the highlighted questions. And I'm going to ask them to try to connect with you likewise. So hopefully that'll happen. And if you have any questions or concerns, contact me or Helene, or ask your parents to do so. So thanks for watching. For you and your families, stay safe, stay well, and may God bless you.